28-21 Seahawks, your final. And with that, Seattle now moves into first place in the NFC West. Our quarterback, Mike Vick, joining us now. Mike, who deserves more credit for the Seahawks win, Russ or his defense?
The defense deserves the credit for the win last night, because for the last 3 or 4 weeks, that's all we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for the defense to step up and help Russell in moments like last night. And they couldn't have came out and performed better on a better stage. Probably one of the biggest stages and biggest games in the game that I felt like was a must-win for the Seattle Seahawks. I felt like they kept Kyler Murray corralled. They pushed the pocket. They didn't let him push up in the pocket. Didn't allow him to keep his eyes downfield. Didn't let him break outside of the pocket. It wasn't vintage Kyler Murray. And I think the biggest thing that they was able to do was keep Kyler Murray on the sideline, you know, in terms of the offense for the Seattle Seahawks. But, you know, that being said, we knew Russell was going to do his part. But Carlos Dunlap showed up. Jamal Adams showed up. And the Seattle Seahawks defense played very aggressive and physical last night. It was something that we haven't seen. So hopefully this is a good sign for this team moving forward, that they can keep this up, keep the momentum, and continue to help Russ on the offensive side of the ball, giving them opportunities and allowing Russ to cook. If this can mesh and look like it looked last night, then this team can go a lot further than what we think, because for a second we thought that the demise was going to come because of the defense not being able to step up in crucial moments. And last night they proved that they could step up and stop one of the elite players in the National Football League in Kyler Murray.
And and I know we'll get to it later, but I think they essentially ended his MVP campaign. The answer is absolutely the defense. 2 stories on the negative side of the ledger for the Seahawks this year. One is they lose if Russell turns the ball over more than once. 7-0 if he has 0 or 1 turnovers. 0-3 when he has more than 1 turnover. Last night, obviously, no turnovers. But the more concerning part of the negative side of the ledger was the defense, because I think all of us believed those high turnover games were an aberration for Russ. That was not going to consistently be who he was, because that's never been who he was throughout his career prior to the last month. But the defense was a flashing red warning sign, which is why even in the loss last week, I thought they could feel somewhat good about some of the small steps the defense took. And it's not that holding the Rams to 23 points is a major accomplishment, but for that defense, it was. And for that to be followed up by holding this Cardinals team to 21 points and having the biggest moments of the game come on the defensive side of the ball, the forced safety, which turned it from a 2-point game into a 4-point game, got the ball back to Seattle, and the game-ending sack by the guy they just acquired, Carlos Dunlap. To me, Brandon, if you picked the Seahawks to make the Super Bowl, which you did, I think you should feel better about them right now than you did at 5-0. Because at 5-0, we were yet to see one excellent defensive performance. Now we've seen back-to-back good-ish defensive performances, and they just need to be average defensively with Russ playing at such a high level in order to be the favorites in the NFC, Brandon.
You guys are right. Your answers are right. You know, but I asked why? Why the defense? Because it's that universal theme that you hear in any locker room. Mike, you played for 4 teams, and you heard this week in and week out. Start fast and finish strong. So when you look at that defensive side, what they did in the first half, they frustrated D-Hop. D-Hop was non-existent. They held them to 107 yards. They also held him to 7 points. There was a bunch of 3-and-outs. It felt like every time they took possession in the first half, they were going 3-and-out. They started fast. And then, Wilds, they finished strong. So this isn't a big thing. You know, you've been talking about this defense all year. To Nick Wright's point, like 5-0. Everybody's talking about the Seattle Seahawks. And you're like, well, let's slow down a little bit. But they finished strong, and that's one of the reasons why they came out victorious. When you look at it, man, that defensive line stood up. Carlos Dunlap showed why they needed him and why they traded for him. That was a big play and a big moment.
So, Mike, I started to get mad at the Cardinals' offensive line for a few reasons. One, I wanted to be right that the Seattle's defense was terrible. I didn't want to have to go and redo my take and all my notes that I've had for the past 3 months. But also, it's like they had 4 false starts and a holding penalty that gave Seattle the ball. So, like, what was your take on that? I felt like I was madder than Kyler Murray, because we see when Tom Brady has one of his guys, he lights them up. Do you think that Kyler should have been more after them, or does that not matter at all?
You know, that's the one thing that kind of get lost in the sauce. There was a ton of flags last night, and a majority of them was pointing towards the Arizona Cardinals. There was plenty of times where they got backed up, offsides, holding, plays, big plays down the field that got called back and took away from the momentum that they was gaining. So, yes, that's to be, taken into consideration. But Kyler, as the quarterback and the face of this franchise, is going to have to get in this lineman's face. I know this is only his second year, but, sometimes you got to get on guys. You got to let them know when they're doing wrong, and this is not the way we can win football games. We're going to have to do better on all the courts. So, yes, the flags and the penalties played a major part in them not winning that game or advancing the ball down the field at times.
All right, so let's talk about Russell Wilson. He finished with less than 200 yards passing. He did have a pretty efficient night, 23 of 28, 2 touchdowns, and obviously the biggest stat right now, no turnovers last night from Russ. Here he is after the big win.
Yeah, I love playing this game. I think it's a great question, Mosby. I think, obviously I love playing this game, and there's always, highs and lows. There's always tough challenges, but I think great players always know, 1, how to be consistent, and 2, how to consistently adjust and how to consistently overcome. And I think that for me, that's my mentality all the time. I tell you guys all the time, I want to be neutral. I want to be able to remain calm in the midst of the storm, this and that. And just, I know the kind of player that I am. I know what I'm capable of. And
we are a fickle bunch, Mike, with our MVP narratives. But will last night's performance refuel Russ's MVP push?
Absolutely. I thought Russell was great last night, man. And that was Russell at his best, at doing what he do, creating plays and extending plays and being accurate with the football. Always, keeping his eyes downfield and finding the open guys. And this receiving corps should be extremely ecstatic to have this guy at the quarterback position, man, because he just puts the ball in everybody's hands and give everybody opportunity. So, yes, Russell has entered back into the MVP conversation.
So I've got a major announcement here, and this is a great moment for Russ, because
here we go.
If not for Mike Vick, Russell Wilson, I don't think exists in his form. And now Russell Wilson is going to join Mike Vick on the list of folks who have been shorted an MVP, come in with a silver medal, because they happen to be up against one of the 3 greatest quarterbacks ever. For Vick, it happened with him against Peyton. For Russ, it's going to happen with him against Mahomes this year. So listen, you got a silver medal MVP, Vick. There's no shame there. There was no shame in losing to Peyton Manning in 2004. There's nothing you could do. There's nothing Russ can do. There's no shame in losing to Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a long list of people who come in second to Patrick Mahomes. So just like Vick's got the second place one, Russ is going to have a second place one. That's good, Brandon. Right now he has 0 first, second, third, fourth, fifth place ones. So it's a step in the right direction. And it's a positive step. It's a positive step for Russell Wilson.
Nick, we keep having this debate. You have the greatest coach of all time on the offensive side. Andy Reid, his genius is out of this world. You have some exceptional pass catchers that can go anywhere and be the #1 wide receiver. Like, Nick, his job is so easy. Look, Russ looked good, but to answer the question, I think it refuels him more than it does this whole conversation, because those last couple games were bad. He lost those games. You can't win ball games turning the ball over at that rate. So this was really good for Russ just to get back in the rhythm. And Wiles, I don't know how you saw it, but man, I was really excited to see Russ just calm, collected, poised, not pressing, whether it's for a victory or for this whole MVP discussion and trying to perform at a high level. It almost looked like he was mechanical in the pocket. He was sitting back. He was going through his offense. He was checking the ball down. They actually threw the ball to the slot. We're talking about checkdowns and 5-yard options. What do we usually see when we turn on the Seattle Seahawks game? run, play action, bomb. That's why DK Metcalf averages like 18 yards a catch, because that's all they're trying to do is go for the big play. So it was good to see him take a step back, put on the suit, and get back to the fundamentals, Wilds.
Yeah. Brandon, do you think that was a byproduct of the defense too? So Russ looked up at the scoreboard. He saw 0. He saw 7. He's like, all right, this is not too bad. I don't have to sling the ball all over the place. And it's going to be, if he does end up winning the MVP, it's going to be one of these weird cases where offensive production, and he'll be at the podium and look at his defense and say, thanks, guys, you stepped up, so you didn't put me in a vulnerable position anymore.
No, I look at this like when I look at a quarterback, I look at a quarterback like a golfer. What I want to see week in and week out is the same mechanics. I want